Hi, everybody. My name is Karim Abi Saleh, and I'm a co-founder and managing partner at Wixel Studios. At the same time, I'm a developer. Mainly, we develop Flash applications and for mobile devices and online, offline platforms using different tools. Today, I'm going to talk about the Ihtiyat game that we developed for Almaza in last year, 2010, for the World Cup games. The game was actually an advert game that we developed using Facebook Connect technology and using Flash, Adobe Flash CS4 at the time. So we're going to take a look at the gameplay and the different types of structures that we get into while developing a game. Mainly what the client asks for is a game involving a typical Lebanese character. Mainly, we are speaking about Lebanon al-Adi. It's a FIFA-oriented game, mainly a football game that should be challenging and that should integrate some kind of fun elements into it. It's easy to play because it will be available into Facebook, and it should market the brand completely. So the strategy was to implement the game through their website using Facebook Connect technology in order to have people connect from their Facebook accounts and go through the game and connect and play it. We had only about 1 month to develop the game. So since the game was going to be available online, we thought of the different technologies available, and the ones that work the best and are available on different PCs, let's say 95% of PCs around the world, are Flash. And another thing is that since the Facebook API for Flash has been widely available and widely used in games like, let's say, Texas Poker, Pet Society, and it has been heavily tested by that type of people, we then went to use the Facebook API available freely from the Facebook developer site. So the most important thing in developing a game is to know what is the game about, how will it be, and what is the gameplay of this actual game. The main idea of the game was to have a Lebanese character to come and steal the ball from players who are playing a football match, and he wants to show them how to play real football. So بده يفرجيهم على طريقته how to play real football. So the typical Lebanese character has to go and take the ball from one side of the pitch to the other, and then score it into the football field. We have different collectibles in the scene in the game. Collectibles are items that the character will collect, and he will have to avoid certain characters like players from both teams, and he will also have to jump over certain obstacles and use special moves in order to win the game. So I'm going to try to summarize the game as easily as possible within those steps that I noted down here, because this will help me in building up the game loop, which will be functioning within the code. So I'm going to read them over just if it's not very clear over here. So first of all, the player runs in a football field, avoiding obstacles and collecting objects in order to reach the goal. The player is always moving forward, so you don't have to push forward on the keyboard in order to have the character move forward. He will move forward automatically. What you have to do is to dodge obstacles or enemies that will come to you. He has X number of lives. Every hit by an enemy removes 1 life. In the game, finally, we reached to 3 units of life for the character, because that made the game fun, and at the same time, players will play it over and over again for durability. Now, every contact with a collectible adds score and also adds 1 unit to the special move bar. So whenever you take, we have cashew nuts, we have beans that the player will collect, and those are things that are branded بالنسبة for Almaza, and those will add to the score and add to the special moves bar. In addition, the more you move forward, the more your score will increment. The player in the game has 4 special moves. So another thing to do is to enumerate what kinds of enemies and what are the collectibles, and if we have any type of special cases in the game. Here, for the sake of the presentation and time, I'm going on a bit generally over each of the available game logic scenarios. So first of all, we enumerate the enemies and their roles. We have the footballer, which is the player. He can be a red or a blue enemy. The referee, which is a bigger enemy, so the image that we're going to use is actually bigger, so it's going to have to collide, and he's harder to duck from the other enemies. And he jumps into the screen, so we'll see later that there is a special move in which the character can jump, but this jump will not duck from the referee. We have collectibles, which are the cashew nuts and the beans, as I said before, and one special move. So we're going to get into the technical bits a bit. We're going to talk about the game loop, about the choice of about the choice of 3D engine or scaling and collision detection, as well as optimization for the game. So has anyone developed a game here before? Could you please raise your hand? If you want to. Okay. So a game loop is actually a simulation of what happens in a game, and it goes step by step. It's an ongoing loop within the code. So mainly in Flash, in order to create a game loop, what we do is we create an enter frame event, and this loop will go on forever until you create another event or you dispatch it and remove it. The way you do it is actually pretty easy. You just put event.enter frame and you name the function that you would like to call for this loop. I'm going to go through the game loop if we have time right now, because we don't have a lot of time. Let's talk about 3D engine and scaling. So the game type, I'm going to show you the game before, and then we're going to talk about how things are done. So here you select your country, the graphics type, because it's a 3D game. Some PCs did not support extensive, I'm not going to say extensive, but I'm going to say browser 3D graphics. After there's a short movie that you can see, it's still available on the web. So here we have the player running around the field and trying to dodge the enemies that are coming by. So here we see there's the referee who jumps in, and other enemies available are the footballer. Okay, so I lost because I thought. As we see, the planes available are 3D planes, and logically we could tackle this programming type of view. And we could either do it by scaling characters who are coming along, or we could use 3D plane and make it seem as if it's coming through the screen. After some testing, we tried both techniques. The best technique turned out to be the one that the 3D technique, because scaling had some issues with image manipulation and had some issues with the cleanliness of the football field. What we ended up doing is using Away 3D. I'm going to wait for it. Which is an API, a 3D API available for Flash. It's free and it's pretty easy to use. So anyone, again, familiar with 3D programming? So what we have in 3D is something called culling. Is when things are too close or too far away from the camera, they will not show for performance purposes, let's say now. If we show everything, things will get too slow for the performance. So what we did here is create a series of 20 planes, an easy for loop in Flash. I'm not going to get into the details of everything, but mainly we created a plane of width 10,000 and of height 1,000. So مثل شقفة ورقة. And then we rotated it 90 degrees, and we created 20 of them. This gives us the appearance of a football field that's detached of different colors. We can see here I have 2 different types of colors. And we later on pushed it to an array and into the scene by adding the child. Now the thing is that the way we tackled this subject is we have a camera, and the plane is actually just on the surface. And what we do is we manqarib camera. We get the camera forward, so the plane is actually not moving. So what we do is we use the culling class in order to see when the object is behind the camera to put it again foremost in the plane's array here. So for the collision detection, what we did is pretty simple. We since we have the Z depth, we have a certain limit in which the character will be colliding with the enemies. If he is not performing a special move, and if we have many ifs in the game, and if he's not, for example, jumping, because the jump is considered a special case of the special move, we will reduce the player's score. Now, quickly, I'm going to talk about optimization. One of the few issues that we tackled was using vector graphics versus using normal images. What we ended up to use was PNG graphics because it's easier to put, first of all, on a 3D plane as a texture. Second of all, when you have Illustrator or vector graphics and you're trying to work with them and trying to move them around, if we have this type of graphics where you have characters and lots of vectors, it makes things a bit messy for the frame per second optimization. I'm going to go for the questions now, if anybody has questions.
What pushed you to start a game development studio in this part of the world that doesn't really support video gaming or gaming in the way that it should? What made you start a game design studio in a part of the world that's not really 100% supportive of such an art?
Well, the thing is that we nowadays we have to stand out, and we have to do the things we love most in order to succeed. So if we come and do any type of digital media company that doesn't tackle things we like, we're going to get bored. And we don't like this. Second of all, we, in the company, the 3 founders, we are convinced that we can make something new in this Arab region. We miss a lot of games. We miss a lot of gaming companies. And it's a new media that's going up and that's creating new buzzes all over. So you can see this in the mobile platforms. You can see this online. And the area has a need. At the same time, it does not have the sufficient awareness to tackle this. So we're getting at it slowly. It has been, at first, very difficult to create awareness about games and games in advertising and creating our own products. And, but it's getting there slowly.
As we have seen today, and from statistics that we've seen from YouTube and a lot of statistics from internet usage in the region, we see that Saudi Arabia is the market for digital media in general. So, what steps are you guys doing to target that market in specific?
Well, targeting this market is, let's say, it's not difficult. But it's, we're surrounded by, let's say, some kinds of giants like Travian, that have already penetrated the market. Now, in order to create those type of games, I'm going to tell you sincerely, what we need is money. We need to take, let's say, a year to develop this kind of project because we have the ideas. The ideas are here for the Saudi market, for the Arab market, and we are aware that it's the best market to venture in, especially that we're going to call it Arabized games, and we know how to tackle Arabized games. Yes?
Do you consider going, are you guys going to stick to Flash gaming, or do you consider going into XBLA, FPS?
Well, we did actually some testing on Xbox Live and Xbox Arcade, because we were thinking of developing a game with that. We did tackle the issue, but for now, let's say the market is hungry for mobile and Facebook social games. Will we still be using Flash in a few years? I don't know. We are already using Unity to provide 3D interactive graphics that are not available, that were not previously available online. So, depending on the needs, that's what we do.
Just to iterate on what you just said, Unity will be able to publish to Flash when 10.3 comes out soon.
Hopefully.
I'm just trying to share this
Yeah, I know,
information.
exactly. And the thing about Unity is that we can export to iPhone apps too. So if you have a game and you just need to do simple modifications, and it'll be good to go.
Buy a license.
And buy a license, of course. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so we'll be going to lunch now. Meeting back around 2:30 in the other hall. There's no parallel panels at this point, so it's just going to be in the other hall.